So the topic that we're unpacking today is AI from a pipeline standpoint with B2B businesses. How are we leveraging AI to help us to grow our pipeline? Because 96% of B2B marketers say they use AI, but only 19% have actually built it into their day-to-day processes with their team. So, what's happening here is there's a lot of pressure from, if you've got investors, the board are asking, are we using AI regularly to help us to grow this business? The different teams, let's say a marketing team or a business development team or a partnerships team, they're probably investing in all these different tools every week, getting a lot of shiny object syndrome because there's new tools every single week related to AI that is supposedly going to change your world. So there's a big problem with people just signing up for tool overload. And this is what we're going to unpack today is like, are we actually winning with this, or are we getting just more overwhelmed? Do we actually understand how to use AI properly in our day-to-day? So I'm going to walk you through exactly how we're bringing AI into our clients' business and into our business. You've probably heard me say this before, but there are 4 key growth engines to growing your company. If you're a B2B business, you've got outbound, that's reaching out to companies completely cold. You've got inbound, these are leads coming back to you through paid media, through SEO. You've got nearbound, so things like strategic partnerships, referral partnerships, and then you've got brand that sits at the top. So I want to, first of all, before I go through each of those, I'm going to actually just talk you through what I mean by using versus built in. So using AI is someone who opens ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity and is just using it in their day-to-day, which is absolutely fine. I think we're all doing that at this stage, especially someone who's listening to this. What we're talking about here is built in, so it's part of the workflow. So it's really structurally built into your standard operating procedure, your process, and is embedded as an irrefutable standard. So it's not just like random theory. Everyone on the team knows what AI is helping them to completely automate, eliminate. So let's talk about outbound. Outbound has always been a bit of a volume game. We look at it differently. We're obviously, for us as a growth partner with a lot of our businesses, we're looking more at account-based marketing. So for us, it's a relevance game. AI is what makes that possible at scale. And there's loads of crappy AI emails out there at the moment. But I suppose we were in the world of personalization way before AI was around. So you pair good copywriters up with AI now, and that's how you can start putting this at scale. The problem with that is you give a really crappy copywriter or email writer AI, and you're going to get a lot of shit. You're going to get a lot of crap that's put out there. So we're seeing a massive amount of leads come through from an outbound perspective because of us properly training and getting results from a personalization perspective prior to AI coming around. We've been doing this for 10 years now. So where we're building AI in across the board with outbound is lead list enrichment, layering things like hiring trends, funding, recent posts, what tech stack they're using, so we can find an angle with the tech stack that they're using in order to get our entry in the door. So for instance, one that is working really well at the moment is we're HubSpot partners. So if they're using HubSpot, we can use that as an angle in the door. Personalization, so it doesn't feel fake. So we're actually getting AI to crawl websites, find real observations, real signals. We're looking at things on where they're posting from social media, like what are they putting up on their personal LinkedIns, and we're doing this at scale. So we're using a tool called Clay to enrich a lot of our data. So this is, again, I'm going to mention some tools today, but I'm only going to mention tools that are part of the process. So it's not just like, they're not ad hoc. We're not just using them randomly. They're built into, let's say, I always say the best way to incorporate AI into a process is map the process. So any flow path, let's say Outbound for your business is 15 steps. Out of those 15 steps, where are the most kind of mundane and tedious tasks that AI can help you with? And what are parts of that 15-step process that will still 100% need human intervention, which is absolutely fine. Like, we still have the exact same team, but what is important for us is that we are utilizing AI to help that team to use their time wisely. So another big one would be like messaging, testing before sending, running variations through AI, which ones feel too generic, too vague, too aggressive. We're looking at things like objection prediction. So AI maps the likely objections that outreach will have. So the messaging handles them up front. We have like a database now of the types of objections that we're getting, and getting better and better across the team at how to handle those objections, not even just in emails, but even on sales calls as well. So we've got AI studying those sales calls, seeing what questions are coming up. And then we're A/B testing our answers so that we know the best way in which we can answer those questions and sharing them amongst the team. What was happening before we had AI is it was very hard for someone to give that feedback loop to someone else in the team because it was tedious. Now we're recording all calls. We have transcripts after those calls and it's feeding into a database. So it's been massively beneficial in terms of a time lag, and just creating an environment where it's complete transparency around what's working well for each rep, especially for a remote business. So follow-up sequencing, so not just follow-ups in any cold outbound, but looking at that with like new angles, new insights is so important. Sometimes from an outbound standpoint, you'll find that it's sort of just the same first email just regurgitated, whereas we're always looking for new angles and new insights. Call prep in minutes. So let's say if someone does want to get on a quick call when you send cold email, we have like a super prompt already prepared around how to properly dissect company info and get a rough strategy overview so you can ask the right discovery questions. You're feeling like you truly understand the right things to ask and what perspective to come in at. Obviously, call summaries, next step drafting. So the notes aren't messy, clear actions, clear follow-ups. And then a lot of just general pattern recognition across deals. Why are deals stalling? We're spotting trends a lot faster across multiple pipelines at once. So there's a handful or a list or a checklist of ways in which we're incorporating this from an outbound standpoint. But a question I'd encourage you to ask yourself is, would a buyer think a smart human wrote your last email, or would they recognize AI? And that's the key, is really trying to make sure that you are bringing that human touch, but still utilizing AI from a customer sentiment perspective, like understanding your market. Grok has been amazing for customer sentiment, understanding language. We're scraping things like Reddit at the moment and LinkedIn to really understand our ICP a lot better for our clients and for our own business. So highly recommend that. So it's the research part that allows you to turn that research into insights, and that insights into the messaging that you're going to write in your emails. So now let's move on to inbound. So most teams overproduce and overthink when it comes to inbound, but AI, I believe, is really fixing that thinking part. So let's take a couple of examples here. I've spoken about this already, but again, it's really important from an inbound perspective. Let's say you're running meta ads or LinkedIn ads, anything creative or subjective. I believe ICP and persona mapping is going to be a massive one. So not just demographics, but their actual language. As I said, Grok is a great one for this. Reddit, LinkedIn comments, forums, what people complain about, what they don't say on sales calls, because that's going to be able to help you with the right angles and hooks based on the sentiment. So we're not asking for 10 different ad ideas. We're asking, what are the 3 emotional triggers that keep coming up, and then building content around those tensions and not just topics. Content gap analysis, so feeding competitor blogs, ads, landing pages into AI and looking for repetition where everyone sounds the same is usually where we don't go. So we're using tools like SimilarWeb now to see where competitors are getting their traffic from, what distribution channels, but then we're going a layer deeper from that and we're saying, okay, out of the distribution channels that are getting traffic, let's take Meta as an example. What we're doing is we're uploading Meta ads library into a variety of the AI tools that we're using to completely understand what's the angles they're going with, what are their hooks, their call to actions, how long have they been running ads, have they gone through the learning phase, so we can start to decipher which is working. So we're skipping a lot of that trial and error and that guesswork because we're learning from a competitor's mistakes and seeing what they've tested before. And for us, it's looking at that and saying, well, could we make that angle 10 times better? And could we run with something like that? Because it's already been tested. How do we make that better? And again, for us, it's always just trying to skip trial and error as much as we can for our clients and for our own business. We want to skip the guesswork part. Where's the leverage? How can we leverage what's already out there from a data standpoint to help us make more, better informed decisions? So yeah, I think, again, fast iterations, we're generating around 20 to 30 variations on ad hooks and ad call to action. So we're testing things like thumb stop ratio and click-through rate. Thumb stop ratio for hooks, click-through rate for call to actions. So again, by shooting a lot of variation in terms of hooks, we're able to test that a lot more. We've started to bring in a lot of AI video now from B-roll perspective, and we even turned myself into an avatar, which has been a pretty funny process, speaking multiple different languages. So yeah, I think it's interesting to see where video is going. I'm not fully sold on it yet, but I think it's we're definitely well past the testing phase in terms of we're actually using this in ads at the moment. Another one would be like landing page feedback. So AI is reviewing our pages for clarity, friction, message mismatch, and that's been really, really helpful. Content repurposing. So one podcast, we're trying to go through this sort of waterfall process where we create one long form piece of content, and then we turn that into 10 different video clips, 4 articles, a newsletter, a couple of LinkedIn posts, a couple of tweets on X. So it handles that breakdown. You've got tools like Opus Clip there for clipping the videos. We're using Kit for newsletter, which has been brilliant. What else? What other tools are we using at the moment? Yeah, there's obviously a handful in terms of graphics that we're using. Canva still has started to really, really help with AI, but the thing here is, before we sign up to any tool, the most important thing is it has to work through the current SOP and the current process. We're not just bolting on tools for the sake of it. So I'll move on to Nearbound. Nearbound is strategic partners. So partner mapping. AI is helping us to identify companies that already have your audience. So again, in our case, that would be like tech providers like HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, Klaviyo. These are like partners of ours. We have research partners as well, but they refer work to us. We refer work to them. We've got government partners in there as well. There's a handful of others. So that's been really helpful. You've got co-marketing ideas. So thinking of ideas that would be suitable for a partnership. So webinars, joint reports, white papers, co-branded assets, things like that. And then, yeah, we've also got a lot around outreach to partners. So we're bringing, if we're signing up new partners, we're allowing AI to do a lot of that research and even put together a lot of the emails to form those relationships as well. So going back into Outbound, we're tying the learnings from Outbound into strategic partners as well. And then finally is brands. So brands obviously a massive one in terms of, I think AI can obviously ruin things if it's used badly for your brand, but I think there's loads that it can support it with. Content velocity, I think, is a big one. So we're not posting more per se, but we're more focused around what we're posting, around doing research first before the post goes out. Idea expansion from one core insight. So taking one strong opinion and expanding that into multiple formats, I think, is another big one. Script drafting for videos has been really helpful. So even just rough drafts, like we do just bullet points, some of the topics that we want to cover. So even here now when I'm speaking, I have bullet points as to areas that I want to cover and make sure that I've listed. Obviously, this podcast is a bit more of a list than it is, going through practical takeaways. But I just want to, at a high level, kind of cover some of the main use cases for us, because I think it's very applicable to someone who is running their business and wants to leverage AI for pipeline. Case study structuring was another big one. So turning messy project details into clean narratives. So let's say one of our account managers or account directors, they might have a couple of different projects running simultaneously with a client. And for us, we want to bring that story and narrative together. And sometimes that can be more challenging because there's, a lot of moving parts. So how are we structuring that? Social listening being another one, brand perception. So always having an always on approach to social listening and competitors. What are competitors doing, and highlighting that. So that's pretty much like a bit of an overview as to how we're tackling this across the board in our business. I think there's so many use cases, but as I said, I really believe that if whatever way you're driving pipeline at the moment, if it's outbound, if it's inbound, if it's nearbound, if it's from your brand, work backwards. Start to put together a flow path analysis. So a flow path analysis being analyze your current state and see where the bottlenecks are, the constraints, the laggers, what's taking your time. And then what can you do to optimize this? What are things that you can automate and eliminate by leveraging maybe plain and simple automation, but then what areas can maybe AI help you with? I think the data piece is a massive one for us. Like, we are getting AI to study all of our data. For those of you who know, we own CoreOS. So CoreOS centralizes all of your data across marketing, sales, finance, and allows commercial leaders to make better informed decisions with their data. So they're actually able to understand where their growth levers are and their growth bottlenecks. So that's, out of all the things we discussed, that's sort of the main, we call it the AI brain, or the AI commercial operating system that's living across these different channels, which is bringing it all together. So at its core, that's the heartbeat. And then we've obviously started to bolt AI on across those different processes where we're utilizing AI a lot more in the 4 growth engines. But I hope that's helpful. Again, I hope it wasn't too much of a list, and it was actually some practical takeaways there that you could start to think about in your own business.